Hi, my name's Rita and today I'm bringing a video from Siem Reap, Cambodia. We came to stay in Cambodia for 4 days after we'd been in Vietnam for 2 weeks. The main things I wanted to see was the temples and Tonle Sap River. What you're seeing there was our airport transfer that we booked through our hotel. We didn't know that it was going to be a tuk-tuk. It was quite interesting with both our big suitcases and our carry-on luggage. That only cost us about $6. And I think we actually got ripped off because it was through the hotel. We were in the third biggest city, Siem Reap. Phnom Penh is the biggest one. Some roads were bitumen and some were dirt roads like this. They were very, very bumpy and very dusty. So I would recommend bringing a mask of some sort. We had just a medical mask from the chemist, just for when you're on the tuk-tuk ride, because you do breathe in a lot of dust. At one point we had to have our sunglasses and our masks on. This afternoon I asked our driver if we could go and see some water buffalo. I do photography, and one of my main things in Vietnam was taking a photo of water buffalo in the rice fields. I didn't actually get to do it. Turns out I didn't get to here either, but we did get to see some interesting things. There is some cute little kids playing with some sticks on a little mound of dirt over there, and seeing a few of their traditional houses and shops. So this was on the way out of the city, past some buffalo farms. Unfortunately, we can't see any of them in the video, but I did get to get some photos, even though they weren't in the rice fields. So the next day, I wanted to go on my Tonle Sap tour, which is a town built all along a river. And when it's wet season, the river comes up really high. And when it's dry season, all of the houses, you can see all the stilts underneath because the water's so low. Unfortunately, we went in dry season. So this is a bit of a tourist trap. I wouldn't really recommend it. It cost us $30 each, which is ridiculously expensive for Cambodia. They said we were going to Tonle Sap, but they took us to a floating village. It's really the only thing that's there in the dry season. It was a very quick boat ride around, and they took us to this little place and tried to sell us a bag of rice for $50 to feed the orphanage. We did ask if we could donate some money, and they said no. So when we left, I was a little disappointed because I didn't get to see the houses and the stilts that I was after. And we just happened to see this little side street on the way back from the town, and we told our driver to drive down here. So this was more like what I wanted to see. It was really interesting. There was hardly any adults around. So what our driver told us is they go out during the day, they go do their fishing, and they actually leave all their children here during the day. There's not any of them on the video, but we did see them all playing under their houses. They had little cups of tea that they were filling with dirt, and they all looked like they were really well behaved. There was a couple of babies and then maybe a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old looking after them. This street was actually one of my highlights for the whole trip. I really enjoyed it because it was to see how they traditionally live, basically. And there is some of the fish that they caught drying out in the really, really hot sun. I have no idea how it doesn't make them sick. They must be used to it, or they've got some secret that we don't know about. And in the afternoon, the driver took us to a lotus farm. So we paid $1 to be able to use one of the huts for the afternoon. They do have service where they can bring you soft drink and stuff, but we actually took our own drinks with us. And we got to see the sunset here. It was pretty nice. It was really, really hot though, being in the little villa. There is a lot of lotus farms all around Cambodia because in the dry season, when there's hardly any fish around, they eat the lotus instead. This is just a little bit of peak hour traffic on the way home. It's actually really fun being in the tuk-tuk compared to a normal car. You get to experience so much more, including the dust, of course. We didn't really get to go out too much at night in this part of our journey because we're actually quite sick with the flu, which wasn't really fun. So we actually used this same driver the whole trip. He was awesome. His name was Vipal. I'll tell you a little bit more about his story later on. So the next part, Angkor Wat. This is what I came here for. So because I do photography, I got up really early to see the sunrise. There was a million other people around too. When I actually left the hotel room, I think it was about 3 a.m. possibly. I walked in the pitch black basically, trying to figure out where I was because I've never been in the complex before. Managed to get pole position in front of everyone. Got my sunrise photo I was after and then had a little wander about. My husband couldn't make it out this day because he was so sick, so I was just going solo. It's actually definitely worthwhile to go out for sunrise. It does get very, very busy, probably around 9 a.m. Millions of tour buses come in, just one after another. And it looks like there's a lot of people here now in the videos. But yeah, it gets hectic. So I definitely advise making an early start every day you go and maybe going home by about midday. I won't go into too much detail about which temple is which because there were so many of them. I actually got a little bit confused on where I was going and I didn't really have a map. So the tuk-tuk driver was just dropping me to each one and I go and have a little look and wander around, take some photos, and then he'd take me to the next one. So we actually got the 3-day pass because we were going for sunrise. The office opens at around 5 a.m. But because I was going to do the photos, if you wanted to get a good spot to watch it over Angkor Wat, you do have to get there quite early. So we went the night before and we just had 2 days in there. Me personally, I think 2 days is enough, but it just depends on exactly what you'd like to do. I did see people walking around the complex. I'd see people riding bicycles. It is a massive complex. I do not know how they were doing it. So it's actually about 208 hectares and they're spread out all over that area. And I've read it's around the size of Los Angeles, if anybody knows how big that is. So the ticket pricing, if you get a single day pass, it's around $37 US. The 3-day pass, which we got, was $62 US. And a 7-day pass is $72 US. They also put a little picture of your face on there, so you can't sell your ticket to anyone else, which is pretty clever. So this complex, Angkor Wat, was actually built in the early 12th century by one of the Khmer kings. Angkor Wat basically means temple city. This here is the main one. You can actually go up in the tower, but we didn't get there early enough and the lineup was really, really big. What you're seeing here is our second day and my husband got to join me this day, which was good. Here we got a monk doing blessings for donations. One thing I learned about monks is if you're a woman and you want a photo, it's not nice to go and stand right next to them, and definitely don't touch them to say thank you or anything like that. So going back to our driver, the best way to sort of get around in the Angkor Wat complex, I would think, is by a tuk-tuk. As I said before, because we hired him through the hotel, I think we paid a higher price. But for the whole day, he was $20 US. So you can also hire cars, but we just hired him every day, basically. So he took us through the whole Angkor Wat complex, and then we go home for a bit, and then we go out in the afternoon. So he'd take us out for our afternoon ride as well. He was a lot older. He was a really nice man. He was telling us when the Khmer Rouge happened, him and his wife had to move quite far away near the Thailand border. They actually still live out there with his kids and stuff. So he comes to work in the city and he basically like sleeps in his tuk-tuk and sends back money to his family so they can survive. I would have definitely given out his details to anyone that I knew that was going there so they could hire him again, except he had a very, very basic phone. He didn't have Facebook or internet or anything like that. He did give me a phone number that was written down in a diary. So I did take a photo of that. If anybody ever wants his details, you can just post a question there underneath. Overall, Cambodia was interesting. I really liked it. It was definitely a culture shock. I've been to quite a few countries like Philippines, Bali, Thailand, Vietnam. This was unfortunately one of the poorest countries I've seen. It was quite sad. Like literally just out of their main city is just all dirt roads. Everyone was really friendly. There wasn't any time that I really felt unsafe. I don't know if it's really somewhere that I would go back. It's quite small there, so there's not really too much to do. Oh, just while we're in here, this temple was really interesting. I don't know if you can see all the holes in the walls. So back when it was in its heyday, every single hole was filled with big diamonds and rubies. So that shows how rich the country used to be. That wraps up our Cambodia trip. Thank you everyone for watching, and our next stop is Thailand.